writing, like your mother and sister were there for your designing of costumes. Writing, I mean, who was the inspiration behind your writing of so many blogs, books?
My inspiration, I think writing is a natural extension of research and reading. But my grandfather was a professor, and he was also a theatre, he was a playwright. So a prolific writer. So in my house, my uncle is a poet, my mother writes. So writing is a very natural extension of the way we express ourselves. I mean, before social media, writing is our only go-to. Books. I mean, even for me today, social media is harder to adapt, because even now my go-to is books and writing.
Don't need to try.
No need to try. I know, right? I mean, the little we do, adave poruma irukku. But then, so for me, writing is a natural extension. And the blog was my friend's idea. From the attic as a blog, I remember in Malaysia we were together one night, and she said, "You have such amazing stories to tell, and I want to listen to everything, so why don't you write?" So that's how that blog began, but it really became successful because I used a very different style for my blog, which is very casual, very personal, which is not how I write academic. Academic writing is little more...
Yeah, that is more...
boring.
புரியணுங்கிற மாதிரி அது.
ஆமா, புரியக்கூடாதுங்கிற மாதிரி.
Yeah, but talking about writing, I liked one of your statements. Music and dance were a dialogue on civilization. Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
The lost repertories of Sadir demonstrate inclusive, multicultural bonding of humanity. Can you elaborate on this?
Oh yeah. The elaborating on that is literally my whole life's work.
பார்த்து தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறது, வீடியோ பார்த்துலாம் okay. From your side, you need to...
I mean, உங்களுக்கு சொல்ல தேவையில்லை. Music and dance are so intertwined. So if you look at the history of our arts, there is no way that we can separate or divorce these two. So the hyper specialization of music as music and dance as dance has really, I think it's like a death nail on both the art forms, right? That is on the one hand. But the way we identify the civilization here in this country is through its arts. You see the evolution of its music and dance, you see the evolution of its literature, you see the evolution of its theatrical works, and that's how you recognize that this is the Chola period, this is the Pallava period, this is the Nayaka period, this is the Maratha period. We are able to these are the only visible markers we have. And what is interesting is these markers are not belonging to any one culture, as we say, or any one religion, or any one caste, or there is no one singularity. It's multicultural. There are anybody who has had a role in this land, and there have been so many, every player, their footprints are there in these art forms. So in separating music from dance, it's like sieving rice. You feel like you don't want to, you want to take out everything, but in that hodgepodge is the very history of this civilization. So for me, that hodgepodge becomes a very important element to retain. Because I mean, the constitution says we are brothers and sisters, but we've been brothers and sisters for very long. Very, very long. And so this is the only way to reiterate.
I also want you to share your work behind reviving Jakkini, Shivalila, Gondali, is that right?
Yeah.
And Perani.
Yes.
You have stated these are reconstructed repertories.
Yes.
So I want you to share about that.
So Nayaka period dance was my main focus in my doctoral work.
In your doctorate, I read that.
Yes. Nayaka period was I would say the crossroads where what today we consider as Carnatic music and Bharatanatyam or Sadir, really in this form started happening in the Nayaka period. Before that, what was there in Urdu is even more hazy for us. More concrete documentation and all of that come for us from this time. And in that time, all of these dances were part of the traditional classical sampradayam or repertoire. So idella Shuddha Paddhati nu sollakodiya and the Paddhati kulla it comes. These are all repertoires. So for me, the fact that we've lost these repertoires on the one hand, And the fact that some of the elements of these repertoires are still with us but not in the same name. The fact that the language, the kinds of movements, the kinds of music that was part of this repertoire is completely forgotten, unknown today. Not even my gurus, Sadhur gurus, they are also 100, 200 years away from this. So it was like a reverse engineering process for me. So I went from what I learned to Sadhur, which my gurus. And then from there, it was a journey of my own to go and see 200 years hence, or 200 years before that, in the 16th, 17th centuries. What was dance like? What was that music like? Adilada, 32 different repertoires came up. These are only 4 of them. The rest of them are also there. But Anna, my job was not just to write about them, because people have written about them in the past, but I wanted to physically I'm a dancer first and foremost. At the age of 3, I started dancing. So that's my first identity. So I reconstructed it physically to see if it's danceable today. If this body can dance this, if this mind can absorb it. So that's how From the Attic, the production came about. Actually, these are all, because each one of this is a full wholesome repertoire, sir. Shiva Leela is a full evenings program. You can't do it like one, it's not an item.
Yeah, it's
a full repertoire. So, you need a different set of musicians, you need a different set of costumes. Of course, the Nayaka dancers, they performed all of this one after the other, but not a single dancer. Solo madri, nane poi costume change illa. They had several dancers, and so one after the other they were able to perform.
Visually more interesting actually.
Very interesting.
Very reaching also.
Yeah, so for example, Shiva Leela is a dance that really brings this group performance, steeped in Shaivite ideology, but also very, very egalitarian in the way it's done. Gondhali is a Marathi Gondhal influence of the Maratha, but Maratha from the Nayaka period itself, because there were Marathis even at that time. Perani is another such, it has 5. Perani nambalku 10th century lane the people have been talking about it. So each one of this has a huge history. So it was for me a life-changing experience to understand that our arts, and Jakkini has Persian, entirely in Persian, right? So to understand that our arts have so many cultures in it. So suddenly, from being a Madras classical Bharatanatyam dancer, the shell broke and I said, I belong to the world. My art belongs to the world. So that was a new feeling. Instead of me taking this art to the world, which is what we do, right? Every time we travel and perform, we think we are taking the art to the world. But for me, the understanding is reversed. I'm saying this art is the world. I am learning it.
Yeah. Acting.
Yes.
How can we miss on that?
Yes.
How did the offer come?
Again, I was a very reluctant actor. For some reason, I don't know why.
Reluctant to go into acting?
Yeah, reluctant to go into acting initially, because I think I was obsessed with dancing. Obsessed. So, my point was, I don't want to miss class, and I don't want to not go and kacheri la miss panna mudiyadhu. So I was initially coaxed by my parents' friends who were, producing stuff. But of course, Mani Ratnam's movie, again, that also came to me at a time when I was just entering my first year. Sorry, Alaipayude.
Okay.
Right? So that came to me just when I was finishing my 12th grade. I said, I have to join college, I have to study. So education.
Sociology.
Yes, indeed. So both education and dancing were such an important part of my life. So Mani sir, in fact, I'm just going to meet him now after this. Okay. So he laughs and he says, you are the only person who kept saying, I'm studying. Right? And he'll joke. The idea of acting initially was something that I was reluctant. But the minute I did Alaipayude, I remember after a few years, the craze around it and all that is one thing, and the Ilame Pudumai and the craze around all that. But after it all settled in my mind, what really stood was, this is another very, very nuanced art form. Filmmaking is such a nuanced art form.
Exactly I was thinking. You're so much open-minded that you would have definitely realized.
I did.
So I should not have missed it.
Yeah. I should not have missed it, but I made some very calculated choices, sir. So I told myself, without giving, because it's very easy to get sucked into the film industry. It's a very demanding job.
Demanding and tempting also.
Tempting and
once
demanding.
you're popular, you just get carried away.
Right. So my popularity was there, but I didn't want to do mainstream movies. I didn't want to become a full-time heroine because dance was an important part. Because my education was an important part. I think around that time I started realizing that I needed to do some research, and so adella TSP Mama was influencing me. So I could never get carried away.
You couldn't have left all that.
I didn't feel like.
You have worked so much in the past for women's empowerment in terms of their,
Safety.
the safety, and also particularly in the art field, the integrity being tested, taken for granted, and all that. So when did you really think that now it's the time we protect them and we should take some initiative?
So I'm not a good Samaritan. So I don't think I jumped into this voluntarily, willingly, thinking about it. Frankly, just like all of you, I was just shocked by the kinds of revelations. I've always been very protective of the girls I work with, my students. Not just girls, boys, anybody really, right? There are also a lot of them who are sexually ambiguous. Their sexuality is ambiguous. The art world has a lot of them from other genders. They're also feeling unsafe. So, privately, we would have conversations and I would hear their stories and it would really hurt me. We should it should be a society that can be safe for everybody. But when Me Too came up, it bothered me so much. And for some reason, these young people decided that I will be a voice who will not be afraid to speak for them. When they put that faith in me, I couldn't fail them.
Great expectations you should.
Correct. How can I say, no, I can't do it because, people will then, come after me. People came after me. Sabhas cancelled kacheris of mine. People have done all kinds of things. Ostracized me. People were afraid. Still afraid perhaps. But you can't be afraid to speak the truth.
Till
somebody's truth. Till when? And what is the cause? 10 years history, the brave, those who have dared to do something, they may not live to see the fruits of that.
Correct.
But they would have done something that matters. Right? We talk about the Tanjo Quartet today as path breakers, as people who have created the Margam. But imagine from a pool of so many repertoires, what would have been their audacity to take just 8 or 9 things and say, okay, this is how a kacheri should be. What about Ramanuja Iyengar? Yes. How did he create the kacheri paddhati? Right? They dared to dream.
Of course.
So on the dare to dream they were not fearful. So somewhere I'm thinking, if one had to do that, we have to do it. So that maybe in few years it will become a safer place for all of us.
Yeah, in the art field, in the recent, as you said, otherwise legally actions are taken in the common world.
Yeah.
Actions are taken. Maybe they come out on bail or whatever, but the publicity is always there. Negative publicity about them.
Yeah.
In the art field also it was there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we can see those who were accused.
Yeah.
They're again given opportunities and they are roaming around just heads high and they are not bothered about what happened. They are not guilty. Yeah. So when will that end? What action can be taken to make them at least realize? People say, no, it happened 25 years back and the people change. Okay, it's all fine. But what else can be done to stop that?
This is a huge change. It's a change that calls for a cultural mindset.
It has created some awareness.
Yeah.
Definitely it has given some strength to the women.
And put some fear in people.
Yeah. They are
fear,
not repeat it again.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? So you break your habitual abuser behavior. So idella nadandirukku. But this is what you're asking. How will they not be enabled? How will the society? This is a large social change that we're asking for. A cultural shift. Today we are seeing even in schools and colleges how many cases are coming up where 10 years ago if a student had spoken about what happened to them, it's not as if 10 years ago it didn't happen. It's just that they were scared to speak about it.
Many years ago it has happened. சொல்றதுக்கு பயம்.
Bayam, exactly. Right, so inniki, their voice, they know that if they speak, somebody is hearing them.
Yes.
Today,
It's a drastic
it's a huge shift, but it's not enough. Even in the art field, I think that's the same thing. Today, they know that if they speak, somebody somewhere is willing to listen. Someone like us, somebody else. There are so many people today. But for the whole system to cleanse, we have to become, I mean, this is, it's not as if the art field is separate outside of the society. Like the whole society needs a social shift, mindset shift. We have to start educating ourselves. We have to, every teacher in the art world, every student in the art world must be made aware that safety is first and that safe spaces are important. Appropriate behavior is important. Inappropriate behavior should be spoken. You don't have to take them to the police station, but I think it's important to point it out. To identify signs where young children, if they retract, suddenly class ku varalenu vechukonga. If you have somebody teaching in your class and if a student suddenly does not come for the class for months, the only reason cannot be that the child is lost interest or the parents have moved out of the town. There could be other problems, and it's important if there is a pattern especially.
And there is also a complaint from the other side.
Yes.
That there are females who, for their growth, they depend on us, they cooperate or whatever. And at the end, when they are already on the limelight, they start complaining and things like that. There is a complaint from the other side also.
There is no other side here. See, I think
from the so-called accusers.
I think the issue here is where is the power structure? This is a power play. Whoever is more powerful always gets to tell the other person what to do, or can tell the other person what to do. So in the power play, who is using that power, who is the less powerful, who has got more agency, this is a question. It could be a man, it could be a woman. I've seen so many men who are victims. So this is not just a woman versus a man problem.
That's what I was pointing out.
However, whoever is more powerful, between a guru and a student, we know who's more powerful, right? So if the guru is 35 years old and if the child is 8 years old, we know who is the more powerful, the more responsible, who is so it's a non-starter conversation. So you can't say, oh no, but she was the one who agreed. You can't say all that. I'm sorry, you have to behave like 30.
Panjavatnam silks. I am sure that you would have visited that site. So how are the sarees, and in terms of costume designing, did you like them in general and for costume designing?
I saw the site. Beautiful sarees. I've also seen some of my, dancer friends drape one or two of them, of their sarees, and I've seen, on Instagram and elsewhere. Of course, it's a very aesthetically done site, and see, for me, I think buying a saree is also about the experience. Right, so when something is well kept, well showcased, it really appeals to me a lot. So in that sense, I'm also glad that it's not just only silk sarees. They seem to have an entire range of everything, right? So like I said, I'm a lover of everything beautiful. So adanala, everything from kalamkari to Kanchipuram, is my cup of tea. So I really did, and I think because they have an artistic inclination, that shows in the kinds of sarees that are stacked. That's very important. Sometimes, if you go to a store, you should not be able to pick one. You should be able to pick several. You don't know what to choose, and that is what I like.
Correct.
Yeah.
ஒரு 100 போட்டா ஒன்னு வரும். So அந்த மாதிரி இல்லாம எதை போய் எடுக்கிறதுன்னு தெரியாது.
Correct.
I'm sure you're a role model for many aspiring dancers and researchers. And you have been multitasking, obviously, doing all this. So how did you manage to do the multitasking, and what do you want to tell to the next generation about your multitasking?
I know people have always asked me how I time manage because I'm doing many things. Maybe some people even think that, if you have so many things to do, you may not be able to do them all well. But the only motto that I have followed is to prioritize things as and when. When I have a kacheri or when I'm doing my research, then that becomes my priority. Everything else takes the second seat. But when I have to go for shooting, then that takes precedence. So you are shifting those roles, but you're also shifting those roles along with your priorities. It's not as if my heart is somewhere else and I'm doing. So, you need to, I think you need to plan your life very plan your day very meticulously. I'm not the best at it, sir, frankly. I mean, sometimes I feel like I could do so much more. I'm still wasting my time. So it's not as if, I've perfected that art.
That should be a joke.
It's not. I wish it is, but it's not. No, but I do think that we have to make time for ourselves. We have to enjoy everything we do. Ellame kekkuradhu dhaan usual, but it takes many years to practice it, to enjoy, to take time. Like, for example, my mornings are for myself. I will read, I will do my music, I will do all of that in my mornings, no matter what. Unless it's a terribly important thing at 7 o'clock, I don't do appointments at 7, 8 in the morning. So, some sort of practice we get into.
Yeah, people also fear of losing that kind of position if they are not going there regularly. So, that you need to do what
you need to do.
Yeah.
TSP Mama once told me a very interesting habit he had. So, I asked him, how did you read so many books, Mama? Because he was a polyglot, 7 languages, 30,000 odd books he had. And எப்போ எந்த ரெஃபரன்ஸ் கேட்டாலும் அந்த புக்ல அந்த பேஜ்ல இருக்கும்னு he will point out. So phenomenal, right? So I asked him when I was a very young girl. So he said he was working in the railways. So he said, I used to travel every time from Chennai to elsewhere. So he'd take 2 big books. Onward journey, he'll finish 1 book. Return journey, he'll finish another. It was a target. And then he also, and my guru Dr. T.N. Ramachandran sir told me another thing. He said, when I buy books, I will keep them on the table. Until I finish reading them, I won't put them in the shelf. So it's a reminder that these are things you need to do. Andha madri, I have also kept some habits. And these books are not for that though.
Yeah, unless there is a pressure, people won't do that.
Correct.
You should set a target for yourself.
Yeah, so these are all small practices that we can do.
Okay, before winding up, as usual, we have a rapid fire round.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
Many traditional art forms, even if forgotten, are unshakable. Agree?
Agreed.
An offer to you to play a Devadasi in a biopic of a Devadasi. Accept, reject?
Reject.
If you were more inclined towards sports than dance, which sports would you have chosen?
Basketball?
Wow.
I don't know why.
2 choices you have.
Oh, I had choices. Okay.
Yeah, of course you have. Athletics, basketball.
Really?
Which one?
Great.
Basketball, you already said
Yes.
that. Evolution is inevitable in any art form, but the beauty remains in the original form. Agree, disagree?
Disagree.
Yeah. Association with art forms increases your wisdom faster. Agree, disagree?
Agree.
Sriganesh, that's me. Your host has started dreaming of Swarnamalya University.
Oh, you.
Will the dream come true or not?
There may be a university, but not that name though. That's too narcissistic for me.
That's okay, fine. I will know about the inner secret. The energy to perform is generated from yourself or the crowd?
Music.
You have to say either of the two.
Oh, either of the two? Myself then, because the music comes from me as well.
Satisfaction with what one has achieved ends one's further pursuit. Agree, disagree?
Disagree.
If you're satisfied, it's okay if you stop there.
You must be satisfied. No, you don't have to stop there. It's only when you're satisfied that you'll do more.
Someone has quoted, shortcut to learning leaves your success behind. Agree or disagree?
It does.
Agree.
Yes.
That was quoted by me, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
To somebody.
Okay.
What would Swarnamalya like to become if there is a next birth?
Dancer?
Western ballerina or piano player?
Neither. I want to be a southern dancer again.
That is obvious.
Obvious, if it's going to happen. Oh, actually, you know what? Why not a pianist?
For a change.
I've never learnt to play any of the key instruments. Why not?
Adan nanu yosicchen. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That was fun.
Lovely conversing with you. And, thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure, sir. We've started working together. So, it's wonderful to get to know you in this avatar. You are absolutely multifaceted. And I think to talk about sarees and to talk about Panchavarnam silks has been a good, beautiful journey. Like I said, I love all beautiful things. Thank you very much for being here and for asking all these lovely questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So viewers, I'm sure you would have enjoyed the conversation with such a lovely artist as much as we have. Take care, wear masks, don't ignore the rules and regulations, and get out of COVID as soon as possible. Thank you and see you again.